Hey, welcome back to Unfiltered, Unspoken. And like we said, we're going to keep bringing you these life experiences. Well, today we have Chad Osinga. I hope I said that right. And if I didn't, please correct me. But we have Mr. Tennessee down here. Is that what we're calling you?
Tenacity.
Tenacity. See, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you
So,
good.
Chad has been battling a fight since he was born. So he's been fighting the war since he was born. But I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about that. So, especially for my fellas and for veterans, for those that have been through war, and for those that are having childhood traumas, this is a must tune in. So, come on, let's bring it on, Chad.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you all for having me. It's an honor. I definitely have been fighting a lot since I was born. I was born with Erbs Palsy, and so my left side just wouldn't work. And I don't know if it was my mom's drug use. She had battled with drug use way before I was ever even thought of. Regardless, it left me without being able to operate my left side. And so she worked with me. She actually let the drugs go for a little bit to help me because the doctor gave her just a small window of time. But soon, once I was able to regain that function, she was right back at it, and it got really, really bad. She got to a place with drugs where it was all she cared about. She ruined her jobs. I mean, we didn't have food in the house. I was stealing just to eat, that type of thing. And so then she allowed these drug dealers that were serving her to live in the house. They buried drugs in our backyard. And then they took me kind of under their wing. And as a kid, you have to understand, like, I didn't have a father figure. I didn't have any real strong role models. So to me, this was awesome, right? These guys had nice cars and jewelry, and I was like, man, this is it, right? And at 14, my house was raided by federal and state law enforcement. They sent my mom to federal prison, and they shipped me off to family in Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, I was abused for basically 18 months. I was supposed to go there, and it's supposed to be a good environment for me. They were into the church real heavy. And so they had a lot of things that masked who they really were. And I paid that price for 18 months until I decided to run away and make it from Oklahoma all the way back to Virginia. So I was fairly resourceful even at the young age. I think I was 16 when I ran away, or yeah, about 16, 16 and a half. And the damage was really done mentally from that point forward in my life. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't like school because I was called dumb in school. So I ended up dropping out of school, started selling drugs, doing the same old. And I eventually met a young lady that kind of changed my world. And she told me that if I wanted to be with her, she would, or I would have to stop selling drugs, that I would have to get my life straight. So that was another story. That was a process for me. And she was patient through it. And I ended up joining the military because I didn't really have anything to leverage, right? Like I didn't have a diploma, I didn't have any skills, didn't have anything. So I just joined the army, and it was definitely one of those things where it was hard in the beginning because I didn't have any structure, and I was walking into a whole thing that revolved around structure, right? Like everything that they do is structure, discipline. You do what this person tells you to do, period. You don't say anything other than yes, sir, or roger that, and you move forward, right? And so that was a big adjusting period for me. And then once I call it, burning the ship, once I accepted that this was what I had to do and I was going forward no matter what, I ended up falling in love with the military. And I think it saved my life. I think it gave me purpose. I had never really had much purpose other than my wife and my kids, and now I had something that was much bigger than me. I ended up becoming a sniper in the military. And then I was chosen to train all four branches, and the FBI, CIA, U.S. Marshals, a whole bunch of SWAT teams in close quarters combat. And, everything was going better for me. Like life was starting to make sense. And then my daughter had a stroke. My I was stationed in Germany at the time, and when she had the stroke, they misdiagnosed her for 24 hours. Long story short, they ended up bringing us to America, but right before that happened, my wife gave birth to our third child. So my wife and my newborn had to stay in Germany in a base. They didn't know what they were doing. Had to drive from uh, a German hospital all the way back to base in the snow and ice, and she had never driven in Germany before. So it was just a lot of stuff going on during that time. Um, they told my daughter that she would never walk, talk, or eat ever again. And I'm no doctor, but I just looked at her and I said, "Hey, we're gonna fight, man. Like I can't promise anything, but I can promise you that we're gonna fight this thing until I'm not breathing anymore." And that's what we did. We took little stuffed animals and threw them up against the wall until she got strong enough. She actually took her first steps, and doctors didn't even believe it. So the second time she walked, I recorded it and was able to send it to her mom in Germany. And that was kind of the story for a while. A lot of doctor stuff, a lot of appointments, rehabilitation. Our third child ended up having autism. And about a year after our third child, we had a fourth. And I'll fast forward through the story, but they ended up both being diagnosed with autism. So at one point, we have three children in therapies at one time. Like we were going to therapy Monday through Friday and spending most of the day there. Between doctor's appointments, it was a big learning curve. Just having kids is hard, but then you add special needs and them all having different needs on top of that. It was just a crazy, crazy thing. So we'll fast forward a little bit, and I'm still in the army, and I've just had a whole bunch of injuries. I went off of a roof in Iraq and landed head first. I had multiple surgeries, and the army basically said, "Hey, I'm done. I have to get out. They're going to retire me." And I tried to fight it for a while, but it was what it was. They were going to win that fight. And I was lost again. I was probably at one of my lowest points exiting the military because my kids had found like a groove. Like they weren't exactly where we wanted them to be, but they were in a good place and we knew what they needed to do. And now I had the one thing that was, that brought me purpose at such a, early part of my life was now gone. And I felt kind of robbed and I was just lost, right? I was like an unmagnetized needle just spinning around. And so I started drinking. I was ruining my relationship with my wife and my kids. And then I started riding motorcycles. And that's when things got even harder for me because I got out in 2015. In 2018, I'm taking a left turn on my motorcycle. And this kid on his cell phone, 18 years old, probably playing like Pokemon Go or something, just blows through the light and he smacks me at 45 miles an hour and I fly into a guardrail. And most people didn't even think I was going to live. Obviously, I did. And it took me about close to a year before I was able to really feel comfortable getting onto another motorcycle. But I knew I needed to face the fear. I knew like I had this fear every time I went into a vehicle at intersections, all that good stuff. It just freaked me out. So I knew I had to face it. And so I get back on the motorcycle and I'm riding and I get hit again in 2020, this time with 5 other people around me. And I flatlined twice and I have over 6 surgeries with this last accident. But it was the best thing that could ever happen to me because in that hospital room, I faced a man in the mirror. And I realized that everything in my life, everything that I had faced was for a reason, that I was on this earth for a reason. I had a purpose and I was going to fulfill that. And fast forward till now, that's what I've been trying to execute every day of my life.
That was, for one, thank you. That was
Yeah.
a wonderful synopsis. Sometimes I have to like pull information, but you gave us a lot to work with. Thank you. But like I said, wonderful story. Well,
Yeah.
wonderful outcome of the
Yes.
story.
There you go.
But to begin, back, in your childhood, um, was there ever, I'm not sure if anything ever, changed as far as the relationship with your mother. Where did things leave off, or where did they stand?
She ended up overdosing when she got out of prison. She did good for a while. She went and got into church, and church seemed to kind of keep her level headed for a while. But that addiction, just she had been fighting it for so many years. Like I said, way before I was even born. There's stories of her driving intoxicated, like not with alcohol, just like crack, with me in the baby seat, just all over the place. And so she just was all, great heart, but she had a demon, and that demon ended up taking her life. So we did not come to a closure. And what I will say to anybody that's lost a parent, and or have a relationship with a parent that it stems from some bad parenting, understand that usually it's not because of us, right? It's not the child. They have a fight, and we all have fights, right? Like I had a fight with alcohol because of the demons that I had in my life. It had nothing to do with my love for the child, right? Or my children, but I had a fight, and it was up to me to win that fight or to lose it. Right. And my mom, she just lost it. And now looking back, I had so much hate for her for so many years. And I wish I could talk to her now. I wish that I could just have one more sit down and one more conversation with her. So let bygones be bygones. Be a better version of them. Let it be lessons of how to be a better you, right? But cherish those moments.
Good. I have a quick question. Do you know if your mother went through any traumas as a child? Because I try to show people that how childhood traumas affect your adult life.
Yeah, she definitely went through a lot of stuff, especially with her father. So my grandfather was a World War II Marine, and he fought in the Korean War too. So he was very abusive. She had 9 siblings, so she came from a very big family, and he would walk around the dinner table and make them sit straight, like like this, and they couldn't eat until he walked all the way around and inspected them for their food. And if they did, then I guess he would smack them or whatever. So she came from a very rough and no love type of environment, right? There wasn't a lot of love there. And so I think that's what kind of pushed her to do the drugs. And when you got low self-esteem and you couple that with hard drugs, man, it's a roller coaster.
Absolutely. Now, were you the only child, or did you have siblings?
Yeah, I was the only child. My mom married a guy, one of the guys that she was with for a while, and they were together for a couple years. So I had a step brother and a stepsister for like 2 years, but I don't really count it. So yeah, I was an only child, which prepared me for a lot of the rest of my life. So I'm thankful for it.
Absolutely. And then kind of moving forward, as a teen, kind of getting into things, you know, what was, I guess, what was kind of like a vital kind of like do or die moment? Like, what could have changed the whole trajectory of your life?
Oh man, that one. I still think about that. To be honest with you, because I was a knucklehead. When I say I didn't care, I did not care. I would have smoked a blunt in front of the police and asked them to do something about it. Right? Like I was that brazen. I didn't care. I would steal cars. I didn't care. I did not care at all. I didn't even think that I was gonna make it to 21. So for me, just living fast was all I cared about. But I will say this: my grandmother loved me to pieces, and she was like my stability. And she would always take me to church and make me go to church, right? Like she didn't care how old I was getting, my butt was going. And so she was a constant force of positivity, regardless of what was going on in my life. And then I think that she introduced me to another family in the church, and they ended up taking me in when I was about 17 years old and giving me a place to live. And they showed me what a family looked like a healthy family. And I ended up calling them mom and dad for many years because I didn't really have anything that looked like that until they came in my world. But they showed me what it could look like, right? Like if the family dynamic was positive and everybody cared. Not that it was going to be perfect, but it was a lot better than what I came from, for sure.
So
Uh,
thankful for that. That you at least had
Yeah. Yeah.
some
Oh,
type
yeah.
of foundation. At least, whereas you have like a contrast and comparison. What if
Yeah.
you're making the wrong choices? You chose that, rather than you just never seen what the other side looked like.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
glad you had some type of a example.
Yeah. It helped. It helped seeing that, there was something that existed outside of what I grew up in. Now, whether I thought I could have that or not was a different story, right?
mhm,
Uh, and I say that's where I kept getting in trouble because you try to reel me in and it might work for a while, but these limiting thoughts in my head, and that's why I focus on the mindset so hard right now, because that's really what's freed me from where I was to where I'm at now, is that conquering the mind and understanding how powerful it is. Because I had people that inserted themselves at a young age that tried to show me what a better looked like, right, what a better life was, but my head was so messed up that I couldn't get out of my own way, right? And so I see that a lot in a lot of young people.
mhm. So I want to bring it back just a little bit, but thank you for the transparency of showing folks how your childhood traumas affect you, and making bad decisions. That's where a lot of behavioral issues come from. I'm really big on trying to show the transparency of that, and thank you for allowing a lot of folks to see that.
Yeah.
Can I go back into the house when you younger, going through living in a house, a what we call a trap house, crack
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
I mean, how we want to say it,
Yeah.
how it, what was the con about it? What was the pro about it? Because you said the dope boys took you up under their wing.
Mhm.
Sometimes we can see the total opposite of that.
Yeah, no, so I'll say the positive is there was a ringleader of all of these dudes that were in my house, right? And so they had a drug ring that was from New York all the way to Miami. And there was one dude that was kind of in the center of all him and his brother, his younger brother. And he was big on having intelligent people in his organization. So he took a liking to me when I was 13, and he was like, "Hey man, you got to go to school." He would actually he would drive me. We would stay out and he would have me drinking all night. And then he would drive my butt to school at like 7:30 in the morning the next day and literally get me out in the parking lot and say, "Get out and go to school." He was big on going to school. I don't know why, but he was very um, protective of my well-being. Like he would take me to go get food because he knew my mom was strung out. We didn't have any money. I was eating crackers and mixing dressing together, and he would see that and say, "Hey man, let me take you to McDonald's or whatever," right? And so to me, he and it's a good and it's a bad thing, because at the end of the day, it was all to set his organization up to be a stronger, entity. It didn't really have much to do with me as a person, I don't think, as I'm older, right? It was something that he saw as an asset. If he could develop me and make me loyal to him, then that was one less thing he had to worry about. And so that was the downside, right? My mom was always strung out. I didn't, outside of Rick making me go to school, I didn't. No one else is going to make me go to school. So if I want to play, if he was gone out of town and I wanted to play hooky, that was the freedom of that type of life. My mom was like so distant, but she was just in another room, right? She was just in the other room. But there was a lot of violence in my house, a lot of disputes over drugs. I mean, I've seen people like literally sitting watching TV and a dude walk in, not say two words, and just come and clean this dude off just right there in the living room in front of everybody. And it took 6 guys to take the guy off of him, and he didn't say one thing, right? Um, and so that was the type of life that I was around. You just saw that was how conflict was resolved, and that caused a lot of issues with me moving forward in my life, because it took me a very long time to learn that's not how you handle things, right? Like violence wasn't the first thing. Like I was the kid that really would fight you over stepping on my shoes, or I mean, I used to joke about stuff like that, but that was really me. Like and you could threaten me with jail, and I would say okay, right? I'm it doesn't. I might not even say okay. I might just hit you and then say okay, right? So because that was just what I was around all the time. I mean, guns and man, like I said, they had kilos just packed under my backyard, which was a small yard, but they packed under there when the police raided the house. And so, I mean, I went on my first big drug deal when I was 13 and a half. Maybe I just turned 14.
Really quick, what did you end up working while we're talking? I want you to go onto your drug deal, but was it with the guy that the big drug deal
Yeah.
that raised you out?
Yeah, it was like a big.
So you ended up working for him.
Yeah, basically. But
Okay,
for free.
He was prepping you.
Yeah, but for free, for sure. Like I didn't get paid, you know. I got to say I was with him. You know, I think that was the perk. Uh, but yeah, like we went, and it was like this old trailer, and this is when I met the Florida Connect, and I had never seen petroleum jelly in a big container like that. But they had containers of this petroleum jelly, and inside the petroleum jelly was the cocaine that they were going to end up turning into crack, right? And so before that, he had all of us set up. He had multiple people with guns all over the house. I mean, he it was, I felt like, you know, I was in a movie, you know, because I think barely 14, you know, and I have a gun in my hand at a kitchen table with his brother sitting right beside me. And we have orders to shoot if anything goes sideways. Like we had keywords, we had the whole nine. We had people in the back bedroom with guns. Like it was, I had never experienced anything like that. So yeah, I was definitely getting prepped to I guess deal with him on a more frequent level, and on a higher level.
Did you ever shoot anyone?
No.
Okay. I mean, he was preparing you, so you know.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Were you scared through the
Oh
process?
yeah, my hand was sweating, man. Like you could have you could have took a rag and just, you know, just filled it up with sweat, you know, because of all, it was just dripping off my hand. I was nervous, man. I had never had to. I mean, I've been in some sketchy situations, but not like that. Not where like it's serious. Like there is no question what to do if it doesn't work out the way he said it was going to work out.
You
right?
was a
Like,
Scarface shit.
yeah.
Okay.
And I was nervous, man. And I'll never forget, he had this Spanish chick that was like, I guess the owner of this, it was like a double wide, and she was just cooking for us when we got there. Like he got treated like a king everywhere he went. Like this chick was just like in shorts cooking us empanadas and like just whatever.
Like real life training day.
Real movie stuff, right?
Training day.
Yeah, it was different, right? Like I had never experienced anything. And yeah, so I was nervous, man. I was nervous. I won't even front. Yeah.
We do have a question over here too.
I was about to get to that.
Go ahead, see, you got it, boo. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it looks like, you know, this, from what you've been through, what you've experienced, there's some type of force protecting you here. Now, do you ever feel like, just to incorporate the question, do you ever feel like, you know, you have some type of like spiritual power or, you know, higher power guiding you here?
You know, I'll say this. For a long time, I thought I was cursed. Okay. I thought that like I had done something evil and I just couldn't die. And they were just going, it was like whatever it was just tormenting me through life. And then this last accident, when I flatlined twice, And like I had this outer body experience. And for a long time, I didn't think it was. I really thought I was talking to these doctors as they were fixing me up in the operating room. I was not, right? I was not talking to anybody, but I could see myself there. And when I was in the ICU room, it was like, I, I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know if you want to call him God, the universe, but there's something that has protected me, and there is something that has ensured that, not just because here's the thing, like I have a lot of friends that have died on a motorcycle or died in combat from way less stuff than I faced, like way less. And I go to the gym, like I like everything's fake in my leg, from my knee to my pelvis is basically fake. But I go to the gym and I get on the elliptical and I go and, like, how in the world am I able to do these things if there wasn't a higher force or a higher power somehow involved in this thing? So I do believe that there is.
Have you seen a ball of light when you were in your accident, like facing death? Did you see a ball of light?
No, I'm writing a book right now, and I talk about that, how I had always heard that there's supposed to be this light, right?
I've seen it. That's why I'm
Yeah,
asking. I literally, I can't even explain it. It's like when you're facing death, and maybe it may be if people are near death, don't think I'm crazy. It's a ball of light. It's unexplained.
Yeah. No, I saw nothing but darkness both times that I flatlined. Actually, and a third time, I've seen just straight darkness. But what I will say is, when I was awake in the operating room, I could see myself in like third person in the nurse's hands, and it was like this. The whole room was dark except for me. I had like this light around me, and I could see the doctor as clear as day, and I could see the nurse on my left and on my right, clear as day, and I could hear what they were saying, like I'm talking to you guys right now. But that was all I could see in the room, right? And for the longest time,
it was you seen a light in that.
Yeah, it was like around me, but yeah, that was it. That's the only, as far as light, that's the closest thing I've seen. Yeah, yeah.
I hear that a lot. When you're close to that brink of, go to the other side. I hear that a lot. So it's weird how we see it in different ways, but
yeah.
That light is always connected. For some reason, it's always someone says it's a light in it. So
I didn't even think about that until you guys just brought it up, because for me, I just thought I had like like I said, the first year and a half, I thought I really was having this conversation with the doctor, like, because I was begging him to save my life in this outer body experience for my kids. Like, I was like, my kids need me. They need me in their life. Do not take me. Please save me. And I don't know. And then I woke up in the ICU room.
It's a darkness and it's a light about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's a darkness and a light. And people don't think we're crazy. If you're facing death, this is what we're just saying. It's a darkness and it's a light about it. So yeah,
it was wild. Yeah, for sure.
No,
you want to take a quick commercial and come back, Sid?
Yeah, we can do that.
You will it back on in?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to take a quick, no more than 60-second commercial. Tune back in the chat because we about to take it to another direction because he has a lot more to share. right, welcome back. Come on, Sid. Let's will it back on in.
Yeah. This one is just a random question, just because I think that your last name is unique. Like, what is your background? Like, what is the origin of your last name?
Yeah, so it's Dutch and African. So I
I
yeah,
was like, you sound a little.
yeah. I always get most people think I'm not white when they just see my name on paper. I actually found out when I was in Iraq because they have. I got to go on this fob for a while, and they had it was like a bigger fob, and so they have Ugandans that work um, the towers around the perimeter of the fob. And I was in a shop at, and one of the workers there, all the workers are basically Ugandan there as well, right? And so she was like, "Do you know your name?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I know my name, crazy. Like, I've had it my whole life, man. What are you talking about, right?" She goes, "No, like that comes from, I think she said Uganda. I don't know. It might have been somewhere else. It's been a while, but I was like, and then I kid you not, maybe not less than 6 hours from that, I was walking on that same base, and another Ugandan literally stopped me in my tracks because of my name. So it has and then when I did some history, I guess when the Dutch came to Africa, they ended up getting freaky with some of the natives, and they ended up having kids, and there you go. Then there's like a whole tribe of the ones that stayed, and so yeah, it's wild. Like I didn't realize that my name could have that kind of meaning or origin to it. So because I didn't, I mean, I came from a broken family, so no one really told me anything. I didn't know anything.
Wow.
Well, the most broken people are normally ones that don't know who they are,
Yeah.
starting out. So, and I guess it wasn't really that random of a question. I guess it's like maybe that's who you got watching over you. If you part of that ancestor group,
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe,
I'm here to
Your
tell you,
God.
maybe.
you definitely got some guardians, if
Yeah,
that's the case. But I found that that's almost like a really good like full circle moment. Even maybe ending up somewhere where you have the origin of your name, and joining the military wasn't really written in stone. It wasn't, necessarily, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
just even being in going to the continent where, it could have all started. That's powerful.
Yeah, it's wild when you do some research and you start linking your ancestry back, and it's like, oh, whoa, it's an eye opener. So yeah.
So I want to will it in since we were talking about Iraq. So you fought in the war.
Mhm.
So we do have a veteran. You're retired now, right?
Yeah, yes,
Okay, so
yes.
we do have a veteran on here. So for all my veterans, um, you were in battle and you fell off a roof in Iraq and landed head first.
Yeah.
Tell us about the war, like what you went through at war and what happened to cause you to fall.
Yeah, so I was in it's a province called Diyala, and it is the worst place I've ever experienced in my life. Um, a lot of drama, a lot of violence there, and so we were trying to pursue some key targets, and I had gotten onto a roof to try to get some eyes on because it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and we couldn't see anything. I mean, we knew they were out there. Um, we had just got a convoy hit, and they blew up like some Bradley fighting vehicles. And so, uh, in that exchange, I ended up taking a nosedive off the roof, and so my nods, it's night vision. Of course, it was on my head, and the night vision when I landed went right into my eye. So basically, the jelly around my retina is dented, and they can't go in and do surgery without the potential of causing me to go blind. So I just have like spots and all these blotches in my eye from the nods going into my skull, basically, and It was, I was out for, I think, 4 to 5 minutes, completely out cold. I didn't know what had happened. Nothing. And because of where we were at, there was no direct treatment other than you always have a medic with you, but no like treatment could come and get me until we cleared the situation. And then I got back. And, I'll say this, Iraq is like seasons, right? You have moments where nothing is happening and they try to lull you to sleep and try to just convince you that everything is everything, right? Like there's nothing to worry about. They're done attacking, they're done hitting you. And then out of nowhere, right when you fall asleep, right when the gunners and the people that are supposed to be paying attention kind of doze off, that's when they hit you, and they hit you hard. Um, we, I won't say that. I have to be careful with what I say. So it is a very trying time, but it's one of the best experiences that I've had because it taught me a lot about who I was, taught me about teamwork, and I almost missed it when I retired, like because everything makes sense over there, right? Like when you're here in America, there's so many distractions. There's so many things going on, right? With your cell phone, with things don't even we make an issue out of things that don't matter. But over there, you wake up with a purpose and you go to sleep with that purpose, right? Everything makes sense of why you're there and what you're doing. Um, and so you create this bond with a group of people that normally you wouldn't even be around these type of people. That's what the Army is, what showed me that no matter where you're from, people are not that different. They're not that different. You might be from Brooklyn and you might be from New Orleans and you might be poor and your dad might have been a trust fund manager, but at the end of the day, we all got needs, and those needs are very similar, right? And so I learned a lot about people, especially over there, right? And I learned the love that you can have for another human being, right? Sacrifice, just like without thought. You know what I mean? Like you won't see that very often in the States. Like people acting in danger, just I mean, they might not even like that dude, like for real, but they will literally put themselves in harm's way to protect that person just because of the uniform that they're wearing, the unit that they're in. And it's, I look back and it's really impressive that I was able to experience that firsthand. So
Yes.
Sid,
Yes.
we have another question if you want to call it off.
It's not too much on topic to the life experience.
Okay.
But
If you want to break it in pieces, I don't know. Or if
I
it if we get
the
far, we could go.
the general gist, and I apologize, kind of off topic.
Okay.
Do you think that Black people should receive reparations in this country?
I think that I'm not an expert on that situation, and I don't have one say in that one way or the other. It's not. I believe in everybody in America being, especially with what I know, right, in America, that if you work hard enough, you can have whatever you want in this life, right? I have friends that were poorer than me. I have a friend that was a two-time felon who is now riding in private jets, right? Because he wanted it bad enough. All right. And so when it comes to money and it comes to reparations, I wasn't there. I can't speak on it. I look, I love people. Okay. And I love justice. That's why I joined the Army. That's why I didn't join the police force. Right. If you want like a super political thing, that's why I couldn't do it. Right. Because at the end of the day, to me, there was too much crookedness in that system. Right. Um, but what I will say is that if you want something in this life, no matter what the situation looks like, you can go get it. I don't know if that answers that, but
Hey, it was good enough. It was good enough. You answered it. So yeah.
Yeah,
There
that
you
was.
Mhm.
Now the question that I had personally, I know at one point, you did say you kind of struggled with some demons as far as drinking. Your relationship was on rocky ground at that point. Now, did you guys make it through that? You guys
go.
still we're
Yeah,
good. Okay, all right, good, good, good.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he's
We've been
loving his
together.
wife. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. She's my thing, man. She's my world. She believed in me before anybody else would, right? And so that would, we all have our moments, right, where we're knuckleheads and we're not thinking and we're not doing the right thing. For me, I just had to wake up before I lost because she was tired. She was tired of me, and rightfully so, right? I wasn't being a good husband. I wasn't being a good role model to my kids. She was holding down everything, and she's always held down everything, right? So I needed to have more invested into this thing, right? And I had completely checked out. And I also was fighting with suicidal thoughts. Like I had a gun to my head. She walked into a room and I had the gun. I was butt naked with the gun to my head, bawling like I was a 3-year old. It was nasty, man. Like I was going through a period where I wasn't even sure if I should live in the first place, right? And you know, but love has a way of making things right, and at the end of the day, I will say this to all the men out there. If you got a good woman, man, love her, love her, love her, love her. She's going to be there. Let me tell you something. When I got hit this last time, it was COVID. And so they wouldn't allow anyone in the room. Couldn't see my family. This girl snuck, and my phone got destroyed. She went to the store, got me a cell phone, snuck it through the security, got it, I don't know, finagled it, right? The entire recovery, I couldn't even use the bathroom on my own. She's literally helping me do all of this. My right hand, I don't know if y'all can even see it, but it's got a zipper scar all the way up. I've had 2 surgeries, about to have my third. The tendons aren't there. So at that point, it wasn't working at all. So when I say she is dedicated, she was dedicated. And you won't meet another human being in your life that will go to those lengths for you. So to do your part, right, to love them and be the person that they need you to be is should be number one priority in your life.
Look
I
at
love
you
it.
dropping gems,
Yeah,
Y'all better
Yeah.
listen to him.
yeah,
And his wife is a sister too. And she's
yeah,
gorgeous. So
yeah. She's my world, man.
appreciate our qualities, men.
Mhm. I'm glad you all made it through that storm though. Specifically for the children, and I normally hate saying that, but there are with the special needs that they have, it's almost mandatory that you all found a middle ground there, for their best personal development. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because and definitely, if y'all are not following Chad, you should follow him. I mean, his watching his page is really inspirational with your family. So I admire that, and I give you
yeah.
all your flowers for that.
Well,
So
thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, she's worth doing it for, and if us men are honest, most of the women in our lives are right. And we just knuckleheads, and we get in our own way a lot of pride, and there's this stigma about men. You know what I mean? That needs to be dispelled in a lot of ways, right? But here's what and I'll throw some relationship knowledge because I've been with her for 19 years, well, 24 years, but married for 19. And that is, it's you and her against the world, period. Right? Period. Not you and your homies, not you and your mom, not you and your dad, not you and your cousins, you and her. And when you're able to get to that place where you rock together and you're able to have hard decisions or hard conversations together, right? There's no limits to what you as a team can accomplish, right? And that's what we're experiencing now, right? But it took a lot of work. It's not something that just comes overnight. It takes work. you're two different people. And I said one, I'll give you two. The second thing is, don't change the other person. You can't change somebody. You can't change them. Okay? Work on you. Work on you. That's how I inspired change in my entire house. My entire house. It started with me.
I love it. And like I always say, no trespassing in your relationship. Keep people out of
Yeah.
your relationship. It's you and your significant other against the world, not you, your family, your friends. Keep people out of your relationship.
Yes. Yes. That's
You heard
gas
it
on
from
fire.
Pad.
Yeah. That's gas on fire, man. Every
20,
time.
20 how many? 24 years, Chad?
24 years together, married for 19. Yep.
And he's just giving you advice on how to save your relationship.
Yeah, man. Like, look, at the end of the day, everybody that's going to give you advice, or at least the majority of the people that are going to give you advice, have been divorced 6 times, can't hold a relationship for longer than 6 months, right? Or they've never been in a long-term relationship, a committed one, right? Where they're committed to one person. So why would you take advice from someone who isn't where you're trying to be? Like, we won't even at our stage, and this goes with personal development too. Be careful who you listen to, right? Like we won't take advice from people that haven't been married at least 25 years and plus, because we're trying to get to 25 and plus, right? So we need people that have been where we're trying to go, not back here tied with us or behind us, or we need people that can impart into us on what to do moving forward from where we are. And the only people that can do that are ones that have gotten further than where you are.
Spit that knowledge out here. Keep
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
needed to hear this. But before we jump in, I have a quick question. I want to know how you got from Oklahoma back to Virginia, because you left Virginia, went to Oklahoma, and you somehow ran away from abuse and came back to VA. I wanted to capture that before we got off of this.
Okay, so all right, I had to do it twice. The first time I got caught. There's a curfew in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I didn't know that because I was kind of confined to their house unless they took me wherever, and then I had to go right back. I had basically wherever they wanted me to go is where I had to be, and so I didn't understand like the curfew aspects and all of that. So the first time I ran away, I just hopped on. I had no plan. I had nothing. I ran on a bike and just went around the city until it got dark. I went to the Boys and Girls Club. I was a basketball head growing up. That was like my way to stay sane. And so I went to the Boys and Girls Club. They actually called my uncle on me. So I had to run from there. I ended up in a Walmart, and then I ended up in a, a like convenience store, and they called the police on me and they arrested me. So the second time, I worked a deal out with a kid in my class who had a car, and he made the deal to take me out of like basically the county lines, and drop me off. And from there, I had a few quarters. This is back when payphones existed. So I had like 3 quarters, and I was able to make some phone calls. And then I hitchhiked from there to the Tulsa airport, and I checked in as my grandfather's name, but my grandmother had already gotten me a ticket. And then I got the ticket. Flew into Virginia, and then I was arrested in Virginia by the Virginia State Police for breaking probation. And so then I ended up going to jail anyway. But yeah, but that's how I got back.
So your grandmother was your savior.
Oh
She
man, that was my ride or die.
lied.
Yeah. Because she was the reason I ran in the first place. They wouldn't allow me to talk to my family, and if they did, they would listen to like the other line. This is back when like the corded phones, and you could listen to the other line, and they would actually end the phone call if anybody said anything they didn't like. So my grandmother didn't really have a lot of conversation. She just said, "It's safe to come home. Come home." That's all she said. And then they hung up the phone on me, and that was all this bald-headed guy had to hear. I was on it after that. I was like, I'm figuring out a way to get up out of here. I know I can it's safe for me to come home. I didn't know it wasn't safe, but I was on my way, right? And so from that point forward, it was just figuring out how to do it. And when I finally took the hitchhiker, we actually paid the hitchhiker back too. I took his address down and sent him a check for what it cost to take me from there to Tulsa International. Yep.
Wow.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
story. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm just glad I didn't hop in with the axe murderer, you know?
that too. That too. It seemed like it happens more now, but because a lot of what you went through, it just, you probably could not have made it out as a child, today.
Probably not.
More people are willing to help a child, rather than hurt them
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
back when. So
Yeah.
I'm glad your experience was then and not now.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
For sure. Now, how has things kind of where are we at now? With your daughters and everything, how are they developing? How has their learning been? Everything. How's life now? How are you dealing? Where are you at in your healing? Just kind
Yeah.
of a general
Yeah.
synopsis now.
So life is good. I have special need kids, so they are in a way better place than where they were. Right, there's always work to be done. My daughter, she's 17 now, and this is the girl they said would never walk, talk, or eat. She works at the Y and watches kids. Right? Yep. She can walk, she can talk, she can eat, she can hold a conversation. Does she still have things that are hard for her? Yeah, I mean, her left arm doesn't work, but she can do more with one arm than most of us can do with two, right? So, she's resilient. She makes it happen, and she doesn't make excuses, right? And then my two youngest, same thing. Our third child, the one that was born in Germany, he didn't talk for 7 years. He was completely nonverbal, and so that was a big challenge. He was like on this iPad device for a long time to help us, communicate back and forth with him, and he hated it. That was like actually his motivation to learn how to talk, is because he hated the iPad thing, right? Absolutely hated it, and he figured it out. And now I can't get him to shut up, you know. And then my youngest is the same thing. They were on two completely different ends of the spectrum. So I had one who completely wouldn't talk, and then I had a behavioral issues with my youngest, and he would wig out, and I mean, he would cry for like 4 or 5 hours in a row. Like, I didn't even know the human lungs could like really do that, and the person still be alive. But he could do it, and I'll never forget. We had a therapist literally tell us to ignore him. She came to our house. She said, "Turn around and stop looking at him and go do something else. Ignore him." And I said, "Huh?" Like, he's like screaming, like bloody murder. I think I'm gonna go to jail because the neighbors are gonna hear. Uh, and she was like, "No, ignore it." And so that's what we did. And gradually we got him down to a place where, he still has his moments, but he's learning, still delayed on some things, but he's reading. All of my kids, and I have a fourth as well. So, and he had nothing wrong with him. He was like the glue, right? And he really helped us hold it down with everything that was going on. But they all have dreams and aspirations, and they're all going for it. And so I'm proud. I'm proud to really say that there is no other limit than us, right? We limit us. And all these doctors and specialists, and they always say, "Hey, you can't do this, and you won't do this, and they won't be here, and they won't do that, and this, that." And man, at least for my kids, they've wanted it, man. They've had to get over every obstacle that I could ever even think someone would have to get over at such an early age, and they've done it, and they do it with a smile on their face, man. So I'm proud to be their father. And then as far as like my wife and I, we're phenomenal. We're doing really great. She just hopped on the podcast with me, so now we're gonna start putting out like relationship stuff, and try to give people some knowledge that we've gained. over these last 24 years. And as far as me as a person, I'm always just growing, man. Like I have big aspirations. I won't sit here and lie. I have very, very big dreams, and so every day I'm just trying to chip away at that. But I'm doing great. Like my mind, I'm happier than I've ever been in my life, and that's what I always tell people. Like I went from a guy that wanted to shoot himself in the face, right? That did not want to see tomorrow, and to someone who literally can't wait until he wakes up, right? Like I'm excited for the next day. I don't want to sleep in. I want to wake up. Like I get up early, you know what I mean, in the morning just because I want to experience the day. And that's the power of getting your mind right. That's the power of doing the inner work. And it's not about being a man. It's about getting yourself right and having a life that you can just really be proud of and you deserve, to be honest. I mean, that's just where I'm at today.
You are a testimony. You are a true warrior. It is an honor and blessing that you are sharing your life experience. I mean, keep sharing because
Yes.
you have yeah.
Thank you.
Keep
Thank
fighting.
you.
You're strong. Even from
Yeah.
the kids, it's a blessing for them to have you in their lives as well. To be so awesome with them.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. It means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Sid, go ahead and kick it because you have some stuff coming up. So I'm gonna let Sid kick it off. So
Yes, so we call this moment, shameless plug. So this is where you're going to let our viewers know what you have coming up, projects that you're working on, where we can direct them to contact you, work with you, anything that you want to share that you would like people support viewing and traffic on.
Yeah. So Chad Osinga on Facebook, that's where I'm heaviest at. I post usually 2 to 3 times a day there, and it's all geared towards trying to be inspirational and dropping some nuggets that will help people in their everyday life. Look, I've been there, so I'm just trying to give you some recipes that actually taste good and work. Um, but as far as getting a hold of me, MrTenacity.com is my website. My podcast is there. You can book a call with me. I do free 30-minute breakthrough sessions. So, I don't ask for any money in those 30 minutes, and I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I'm going to literally ask how I can help you and then go to work, right? At the end of that, if you still are jiving, then we can go from there. I do have a podcast, as I was saying earlier. It's called the Legend of You podcast, and you can see that on all the major platforms. And I am also doing a mastermind event, and so, or not meetup group. There it is, meetup group, and I do that for free as well. I don't charge anything. Every 2 weeks we meet up, and I'm kicking off a 6-part series of creating the mind of a legend. And so, if you are wanting to increase your mindset and become the best version of you, that's where you need to be. And it's meetup.com, the Legend of You Mastermind. And that's what I got going on. You can find everything on MrTenacity.com.
wonderful. We want to thank you again for being a guest on Unfiltered Unspoken. And to the audience, if you didn't hear anything, Chad talked about how to have a healthy relationship. He's been with his wife for 24 years, married 19. So keep folks out of your relationship. No trespassing. No one should be in it. Chad has also talked about his struggles from when he was born. He was born into traumas. So if you didn't watch the full podcast, please go back and watch from the beginning. Chad has a phenomenal life experience. He went from being his mom into a drug house. Mom had an addiction. He ended up selling drugs. How he overcame. How his childhood traumas caused him to have behavioral issues from selling the drugs, being incarcerated. He fell off a roof in Iraq head first in the army. I mean, it is so many testimonies about Chad that you do not want to miss. So I definitely recommend, especially my fellas. Like he has kicked some informative information that anyone could benefit from. So please go back and listen, and then check out his podcast, The Legend
Of You, The
of
Legend of
You.
You. Yeah.
Yep, The Legend of You. So please go subscribe to his YouTube, and also check out his website. We're going to run it one more time so that you can contact Chad. And again, we are all healing together. This is not about me, not about you. It's about us all healing together to face our traumas and take the shackles off our traumas. Once you look at yourself and begin to love yourself, it will change so many things in your life. And facing your traumas is one of the biggest things. It will change your life. And the purpose of Unfiltered Unspoken is sharing life experiences to help others going through similar situations. We will see you next Sunday, 7 p.m. ET, and come subscribe to our YouTube, Unfiltered Unspoken.